Just a couple of seconds here. The first thing you're going to need is a block, and you are going to be setting up near your wall space. We're going to start with legs up the wall. So some of you know how to do that, so you can start getting yourself into that. But if you do not know how to do it, what I like to do is, so my mat is behind me here. So when I lay down, I'll actually be on my mat. So you're going to go ahead and lay down, flip your feet up towards the ceiling. I'm pretty close to the wall. You might be right up to the wall, or you might be a couple of inches away from it, even maybe 6 inches. Once you get your legs up there, take your block, lift your hips, and go ahead and slide that right underneath you. And we're just going to go ahead and start to settle in here with our legs up the wall. So we're just going to arrive here, starting to focus in on our breath. So this should be a very relaxing, comfortable position. If it is at all uncomfortable for you, something needs to change. Maybe you need a little more distance between you and the wall. Maybe the block doesn't work for you. I like the block. It feels good for me and my body. Some people don't necessarily like it. If your legs won't go all the way straight, that's fine. Maybe they stay a little bit bent. That's also fine. But again, wherever you arrive, it should be very comfortable. Some people need a little support under their head. And just go ahead and close down your eyes, or at least take a gentle gaze on the ceiling and start to focus in on your breath. Deep breaths into the belly and long exhales. If you want to know, get some feedback if you're breathing into your belly, you can place your hands on your belly or even on your rib cage. You do want to send the breath as deep as you can. And it's a really slow exhale. Relax your shoulders, relax your jaw, relax your face. Continue to breathe and continue to focus on the deep, deep breaths in and the really long exhales out. So let that exhale be longer than the inhale. And we'll take 5 more like that, 5 more breaths. Melting backside of your body towards the earth. And 2 more big breaths. And after your last breath, just go ahead and press your feet into the wall, lift up, and slide the block out from underneath you. Now, some of you, if you are a distance away from the wall, might need to move a little bit closer. At the same time, some of you might need to move a little away. You'll know as soon as you start to move into what we're doing next. So we're going to bend the knees and take the knees and feet out. So it's what we call a wall frog. So you kind of look a little bit with your legs like the shape of a frog. The toes are out, the knees are out. So we're going to be doing a lot of work today, focusing on a few things: the hips, the diaphragm, a lot of work on the diaphragm, and the pelvic floor. These areas are actually really important for keeping not only our physical body healthy, but also our emotional body. So if the pelvic floor is tense and tight, it affects our whole system, particularly the lower back. It can affect our ability to take a deep breath. If our diaphragm is locked up, the tissue in and around the diaphragm is locked up, it will absolutely also cause issues with your ability to take a deep breath, and being able to breathe deeply affects your physical state as well as your emotional state. And then our hips are also notorious for holding on to tension, like stuck energy, stuck, even stories can get stuck in our hips. So keeping these areas healthy and happy, really important. So we're just allowing those knees to fall out to the side. If you need more, you could even place your hands or your arms on your inner thighs or your knees. That might be too much for some of you. For some of you, you need a little more. So just check in, releasing, opening through those inner thighs and pelvic floor. We're not making a lot of effort. We're not pressing down into the legs. We're just laying the weight of the arms or hands on the legs if you're choosing that at all. So we don't want to tense up in another area while we're trying to soften in one area. There's not a bunch of effort being made. We're really letting gravity just do the work for us here. We'll take a couple more big breaths. If your arms are on your thighs, you'll go ahead and remove them. We're going to leave the left leg exactly as it is, and we're going to start to move into internal rotation with the right hip. Some of you might need to adjust the distance you are from your wall. So the right knee starts to move in towards the wall. If you're not sure what I mean, you could take a look at your screen. And then it goes back out exactly like it was. Maybe even it falls open even more. And then the knee moves in towards the wall again. You're just rolling back and forth across your foot. And then the knee goes out. It's very slow. If you wanted to add a little more, you could assist this internal rotation. Take your right hand and press on your right thigh. And then as you open it back up, maybe you press that leg open more. So that's a choice. Take it or leave it. The knee falls in. Maybe you assist a little bit, pushing it a little more. And then the knee goes out. We're going to do that 3 more times. So the knee comes in, press it if you choose. And the knee goes out. That left leg is still. It doesn't move around to help you. So your range of motion will be different than mine. So don't worry about how far you're going. As long as you're feeling some movement, you're getting some movement into that hip, you are good to go. And then that's the last one, just let that right knee stay open now. And again, as I mentioned, absolutely working into those hips, but the pelvic floor is very affected by these types of movements, keeping us happy and healthy as we release and bring a little energy into the pelvic floor. We're going to start on that left side now. So you can start just moving the knee in and out. Maybe eventually you help a little bit by pressing with your right hand onto the thigh and moving it back and forth very slowly. It's not fast at all. Keep breathing. Keep checking in. Notice what you feel. One side very likely different from the other. right, so that's the last one. And then it's kind of alternates. The right knee goes in and out, and then the left knee goes in and out. And the right knee goes in and out. And the left. And then we'll do that one more time on the right side. One more time on the left side. And then you're going to just release those legs back up the wall. You have 5 breaths. If you want to put the block back underneath your tailbone, you're welcome to, not required. But what I want you to do is be able to soften here and check in. Notice if something feels different in the hip and pelvic floor area. Hopefully it does. I mean, if it doesn't, that's okay too. Start to check in and notice what you feel. And a couple more breaths. And then we'll very carefully start to rebend those knees to lift off the block if you are on it. And set the block to the side. We're going to do one more thing here on our backs using the wall. So you can start with re-extending the legs up, and then you'll decide how far you need to be from the wall. The right ankle will cross over your left thigh. So we're creating like the number 4, figure 4. And then you'll bend the left knee. So when you bend your left knee, make sure your rear end doesn't lift way up off the ground. Your tailbone should still be in contact with the ground. If it is not, you need to move farther away from the wall. If you take this shape and you're not feeling anything in your right side, your right hip and thigh, outer thigh, then you need to move closer to the wall. So please adjust as needed. And then the other thing you want to be careful about is not walking this left foot way over to the right. That's a little bit of a compensation thing that tends to happen when it's very stretchy. So the knee, ankle, and hip all in one line on this left side. And again, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, just take a look at your screen. Your foot doesn't go over here. It's right in line. Knee, ankle, hip in one line. Right ankle, over left thigh. Check in with your right glute. Hip flexor might be involved a little bit, but mostly in the outer hip. The hip flexor's on the front. Some people can feel it a little bit on the inner thigh and hip flexor area if you tend to hold tension there, but mostly the outer thigh and glute and outer hamstring is where you want to be feeling this. So as I mentioned, these hips, they can hold on to a lot of tension, a lot of stuck energy, old stories and emotions can get trapped in here, which is why many of us tend to have a lot of tension here. It's a great way to get it to soften, as well as, of course, the rolling that we'll be doing later. Right now, just letting gravity assist us and a little bit of a softening, a little bit of a melting of the tissue in the hip. And then we're going to start to move a little bit. So we're just going to rock the knees back and forth. So the foot stays on the wall, left foot. And then this movement can be as big or as small as is appropriate for you. So if you're tender in your back, maybe the movement is very small. Or tender in your knees or your hips, maybe you keep it small. And some of you will go big enough that maybe the foot almost or even does touch the ground, and maybe the knee does or almost touches the ground as you go the other way. And again, just a little or a big movement, nice and slow, no rush. Keep checking in with your breath. You could even pause if one way feels like, ooh, I need that. Then you can stay for a breath or two. And then we're going to go ahead and release and take both legs back up the wall again. We won't be here for very long, so maybe don't grab the block for now. We're just going to be here for one more big breath in and out as a transition to the other side. And then left ankle crosses over right thigh. And then you'll bend the right knee. Now you might notice this side is different. Maybe you need to be closer to the wall. Maybe you need to be farther away. Make sure that right foot doesn't start working its way over to the left. Ankle, knee, and hip all in one line. And then check in. Where do you feel it? It should be mostly the outer left glute. Some people, again, can feel a little hip flexor or inner thigh, but mostly outer left glute is what we're going for. So adjust as needed. Make sure your booty isn't way up off the ground. If it is, you're too close to the wall. If you're not feeling anything, you probably need to move closer to the wall. So closer or farther away, adjust so that you feel what you want to feel here. Keep breathing, keep checking in, keep noticing what you feel. And you're going to start to move. So slow at first and small at first. And then maybe you get bigger and bigger. You could even pause if it feels good to go one way and stay there for a breath. You're welcome to stay. Again, all of this affecting our hips, still the pelvic floor getting involved here. Whenever we do this kind of rocking motion with our hips involved in an open position, our pelvic floor is affected. So it will help release tension in the pelvic floor. We release the tension in the pelvic floor. It does allow the tissue to function better. So then we can strengthen the pelvic floor, which is also very important. Couple more rocks. And then we'll take the legs up the wall one more time. You've got 5 breaths. So if you like the block, go ahead and slide the block underneath you. I like the block. It feels good for me. Take it or leave it. And then just a little check-in again. Notice what you feel. As a side note, if you're ever feeling anxious or stressed out, this is one of the very, very, very best postures you can take. So legs up the wall, particularly supported by a bolster or a block, just helps reset your nervous system. And last breath. And then you'll start to lift up and off of your block, roll to the side. And you'll make your way onto your mat. You're going to find one or even two Pilates balls. So they're going to be going on your right side body. So if you have two, you can try two. If you don't like it, then maybe you go back to one. If you only have one, of course, use one. So if you only have one, put it right in the middle of your rib cage. If you have two, you'll just kind of distribute it through the whole right side body. Some of you might need or want a block underneath your head. If your head isn't touching the earth comfortably, something under your head, please. So one or two balls underneath your right side body. If you have two, you're going to kind of affect the whole side. And then you'll decide if you like a block. So we're going to really breathe deeply here. So gravity is doing the work for us again. As we breathe, we're going to feel our rib cage and our side waist expand and press into the balls or ball. And as you exhale, you kind of feel the ball or balls melt into your body. So just kind of check in, see if you like the two. If you have two, if you don't like it, you can go back to one. If you have the option, you could do some time with two, some time with one. So we're affecting, again, all the tissue in the side body here. The diaphragm is in here, in and around that rib cage. It might seem somewhat subtle for some of you, and some of you it will feel kind of aggressive. So it's okay either way. We're affecting mostly the superficial layers of your soft tissue on the side body here. Start to move the left arm a little bit. So place your hand on your shoulder and you're going to draw some circles with your elbow. Doesn't matter which way, you're going to go both ways. And go ahead and switch directions. Keep taking deep breaths. And then you can either just simply switch directions again with a bent elbow, or you can start to extend the left arm straight. And you can make this movement as big or as small as seems appropriate for you. So you could even start to roll a little back and forth on your balls. So you can roll a little bit towards your back, don't fall off the balls, and then roll a little bit towards your belly. And that's a choice. You could also keep it very contained and just keep your body still, or even keep the bent elbow. You're going to switch directions now with that arm. And again, you're either extending it out straight or you're keeping it bent, depending on what's appropriate for you. You're either moving the body around front to back, or you're keeping more still. So really check in with what you need for you. And then we have 5 more breaths. Option to drape the arm up and over your ear. Maybe you're getting enough movement in the body now that you can remove the block if you're using one. Maybe not. Again, please have your head supported by something. It could even just be your other hand. Maybe you just need your own hand underneath there for a little support. Without the block, you're going to get more of a side bend. So you get more stretch through the left side body while you're continuing to get some myofascial release work on the tissue on the right side. If the arm over the ear doesn't work, you can just drape your top arm onto your body. A couple more big breaths. And we'll start to make our way off of the balls and come down onto your back. Just take a moment. You can extend your legs out, a little mini Shavasana here. And then we'll start to make our way to the other side. So again, one ball, two ball, you decide what is appropriate for you. If you're using a single ball, just place it right in the middle of your rib cage. If you're using two, of course, distribute them across the whole left side body. Maybe you start with a block under your head, maybe not. So it really depends on you. And we'll just start with some deep breaths again here. So deep breath in, deep breath out. Breathe deeply into your belly. Completely exhale. You want to feel your ribs and your side body press into the ball. So that's how deep your breath is. And you'll feel the balls kind of press back and melt into your body as you exhale. And we start to use that top right elbow. Put the hand on the shoulder. Draw circles with your right elbow. So it's pretty contained here, not a big movement. And you might just stick with this the whole time. Go ahead and switch directions with that circle. Continuing to breathe deeply. And then you'll go back the other way. Option to extend the arm out, and also option to add more movement with the body as well. So you could roll towards your belly, roll towards your back, or you can keep it very contained and not move the body much at all. Switch directions with the arm. And then again, you have the option to drape the arm up and over the ear. If that does not feel good in your body, then maybe you just drape the arm onto your body. Maybe you're able to remove the block now. I'm going to remove the block and just put my left hand under my head for some support. And if that doesn't work, of course, you don't do it. A little bit more here. Deep breath in, long breath out. And one more big breath. And we'll very carefully start to come off of the balls and once again, come onto your back. Just a short Shavasana for a check-in. Close your eyes, notice what you feel. Maybe you're able to take a deeper breath. Okay. So we're going to move on now. We're going to be placing the Pilates ball right at the chest. You're going to be laying on the Pilates ball. So we're going to be affecting all the tissue in through our chest area. Of course, we'll also affect our tissue in and around that rib cage and of course the diaphragm again. So I've got the ball, not on my collarbones, but right underneath my collarbones. And what I'm going to do is put my hands on the front of the ball and just rest my chin on my hands. Now, what you may or may not notice is I'm pushing on the ball so like there's more air on this side of the ball than on this side of the ball. So it does some tugging down on the tissue in the chest. So it should, when you're laying on there, look like this. So my body would be over here. So see if you can arrange it so that that's true. And then again, just relaxing the chin so you're not having to hold your head up. And hopefully you're feeling that upward kind of tugging on the tissue of your chest. Now, if you're able to get the ball closer to your skin, that's better. So that's why I am almost always wearing something like this when I do this work, so that the ball is actually on my skin and not having to go through a layer of material. You'll get more benefit with the direct contact of all these balls or very close to direct. So, going through some leggings typically works, but the closer you can get to your skin, the better. And then you get the superficial layers as well as the deeper layers when we start using the other ball, the yoga tune-up ball. So you're going to take your hands and place them just outside of your shoulders. And then we're going to be moving that ball from shoulder to shoulder. So press into the right hand to move the ball to the right, and you're leaning to the left. And then you're going to switch. So travels very slowly back to the other shoulder. And we just go back and forth. So we're affecting all the tissue across the chest. And this is going to also affect the tissue in and around your rib cage, which of course houses that diaphragm. Side to side very slowly. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the closer you can get the ball to your skin, the more you're going to feel the tugging on the skin and superficial layers of your fascia, which is an added benefit. The ball grabs that skin if it's attached directly to your skin. Still getting benefit if it's not touching your skin. You just get one added benefit if it's directly in contact with the skin. One more time each way. And we will come off of the ball. You're going to flip around. The ball is now going to be on your upper back. Last thing we're going to do with this ball for right now. So again, you can see I've got my back bare, so I get added benefit from the fact that the ball is touching my skin. So I'm going to place my hands behind my head so my neck is supported, and then I'm just twisting to the left. My elbow kind of goes towards my left hip, and then I'm twisting and dipping to the right. And all the while, this ball is grabbing my skin and giving me a little, again, it's more of the superficial layers of the fascia when we're using the Pilates ball. It's tugging on those layers, and sometimes that's where the tension is. If we always use a harder ball, we might just bump right through where maybe the problem area is. So it's important to not just always jump right to the harder ball. It's important to sometimes get these superficial layers. And it's really slow. So the ball is an opportunity to grab the skin and just almost like twist it a little. So now you're going to go ahead and a ball to the place where you can leave your rear end on the ground and bring your head down either to the ground or maybe your hands are behind your head. If your head is super far from the ground still, you might need a block under your head. So what you want to feel is this extension through the upper back and chest area. So it's going to be, middle backish. So not way up by the neck, not down by your rear end, not super low, but somewhere in the middle of your back. If you're not feeling an extension through that middle back and chest, go and adjust the ball up or down. And if it's too much, of course, adjust the ball up or down as well. If your head isn't touching the ground, you need support. So it could just be your hands behind your head. I like that because then I get a nice chest opener as well with my elbows going out to the side like that. Big breaths in and out. All the while, once again, you're getting an extension through that chest and shoulder area. You're getting that stretch through that middle back. But of course, the ball underneath you is affecting the tissue in and around that rib cage again. Deep breath in, long breath out. One more big breath. And then I recommend just rolling to the side off of the ball. And you're going to set that ball off to the side. We're done with that for a while. You're going to go ahead and grab two yoga tune-up balls outside of their tote. You're going to lay yourself down. And we're going to place one ball under each glute. So right in the center of your glute. And then you are going to be placing the soles of the feet together. So if you need support in some fashion for your knees or your hips, please feel free. So maybe you need a ball under a hip or a knee or even a block. So it's basically a butterfly position with the balls underneath your glutes, gravity doing the work for you. Pressing into those glutes with the balls, and then you're also getting a nice opening through those inner thighs. Again, anytime we're working into the hip area, we are also affecting the pelvic floor. We're going to take a contract and release here. So you're going to be squeezing your glutes tight. So go ahead and do that now. Squeeze, contract, contract. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, completely release the glutes and let your body completely soften. You'll do that 2 more times. Contract, squeeze the glutes, tighten, tighten. Take a deep breath in and soften and completely let it go. We'll do that one more time. Tighten those glutes, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Take a deep breath in and soften, relax. You're going to change the position of your feet. If they're very close to your body, you're going to move them a little away. If they're pretty far from your body, see if you can bring them a little closer. If you can't do anything different with the distance, you could just try separating your feet. That's also going to change it. We're just doing something different. You choose. Separate your feet, move them farther, move them closer. You decide. Once you've decided, we're going to do the contract and release again. So take a deep breath in, squeeze those glutes, tighten, tighten, tighten. Exhale, relax. Completely let it go. 2 more times. Contract, squeeze, 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 tight, tight, tight. And exhale, soften. Let it go. 1 more time. Contract, squeeze, tighten, tighten. Exhale. Let it go. 1 more big breath in. And exhale. And you'll carefully bring the soles of those feet back to the earth. Move the ball from the left glute. So set that off to the side. Keep the ball under the right side. You're going to start to let your right knee fall out to the right and then bring it back towards the ceiling. Bring it out to the right, bring it back towards the ceiling. So if for any reason this doesn't feel like enough for you, you can just go right away, come onto your forearm, and you're going to get much more pressure if you're in a position that looks like this. So I'm on my forearm, I'm kind of leaning more to the right. I've got more of my body weight on there. I'm going to feel a lot more. Whether you're on your back or whether you're kind of on your forearm, move the ball to the right a little bit. So we're on the outer glute now. This can be pretty intense. So if you're on your side, just be aware of that. So again, knee goes out and then points up, knee goes out and points up. And again, if you are on your back, you can stay there. If you're on your side, you can stay there. We're going to bicycle out this right leg. So it's like a giant bicycle. If you are on your back, it's still out to the side. So it's not towards the ceiling. You're still taking it out to the right. So you're bicycling it out to the right as best you can. You could backward bicycle if you wanted. A couple more times. Okay. If you're on your forearm, go ahead and come back onto your back. Cross your right ankle over your left thigh. Go ahead and remove the ball. You're going to do some of those knee rocks, kind of like we did at the wall, but you're on the floor now. Left foot on the floor. The next time you find yourself at center, you're going to take your left foot and step it to the left. And then your knees are going to fall to the right. Now, some of you will need support again here, a ball or a block under your right thigh. And some of you, the crossed ankle won't work at all. If it doesn't, just take your feet wide on your mat and let both knees fall to the right. So check in. If it could be your back or your knee or your hip that's telling you no. So modify, check in, see what you need. You want to be feeling something in the top of your left thigh, hip flexor area, maybe even into the left side body here. You control how intense this is. The more you press down onto your thigh, the more you're going to feel. Remember, more is not always better. You want to feel something that's an intensity of a 6 or maybe a 7. If at any point you're feeling something even close to a 10, please back it off. That's too much. If we start getting too intense, our body will typically respond with tightening up more, not softening. You have 5 more breaths. We slowly start to come out of that. And unwind your legs if they're crossed. And then before we switch sides, a little mini Shavasana again. Check in, notice what you feel. Hopefully you're feeling something changing in your hips. Maybe a little energy shift. And then you'll rebend those knees. Place the ball under your left glute and you start to drop the left knee out to the left and it points towards the ceiling. Remember, you could choose to right away come onto your forearm if you needed more or wanted something different. It is more intense, so please be careful. Knee goes out, knee points up, knee goes out, knee points up. Keep breathing. You're going to move the ball to the left a bit, more on the outer glute. Same thing. Knee goes out, points up. Knee goes out, points up. And then we start that bicycling maneuver with that left leg. Now, again, if you're on your back, you still take the leg to the left. If you're on your forearm over here, you might need to support with the other hand somehow so you don't bicycle your way right off of the ball. Forward bicycle, backward bicycle with that leg. And you'll come onto your back if you were on your side. You're going to cross your left ankle over the right thigh this time, rocking side to side, big or small. Pause at center, step your right foot to the right, knees fall to the left. Again, please adjust as needed. Some of you will need a ball or a block under your knee or thigh on that left side. And that could be because of your knee or back or your hip. Some of you will not cross the ankle. You'll have to uncross. If you're doing that, step your feet wide and you still drop your knees over to the left. What you want to be checking out, noticing is the right thigh, hip flexor area. So if that's not where you're feeling it, you need to adjust something. That might mean you need to bend your right knee more. That's the bottom leg. So if you're feeling it in your knee, you might need to adjust how much that right knee is or isn't bent. If you're feeling it in your back, again, some support. If you're feeling it in your hip in a bad way, and that would be something that feels like pain, then we need to adjust something too. Lengthening through this right thigh hip flexor area. You control how much you feel by how much you're pressing on that thigh with the left ankle. Breathe deep. Think of softening, letting go with every exhale. While you lay here and breathe, just going to tell you a few things you're doing for yourself with fascia work. So you may or may not know this, but the fascial system is actually the fundamental communication system between your muscles. That's how your muscles actually communicate, is through your fascial system. So that's how you can be more coordinated, is by keeping your fascia healthy. It's also responsible for the transfer of energy, tension, relaxation, and strength. So if your fascial system is locked up, if you've got tension in there, you're not going to, again, function as well. Fascia also regulates your body temperature. It influences your mood. And it definitely helps with proprioception. So that's knowing where your body is in space, which will help you with coordination, balance, all of that. And start to unwind everything, step your feet wide, and then go ahead and extend your legs out again. Check in, notice if there's an energy shift through the areas you were just working. Okay. So now you're going to be taking your 2 yoga tune-up balls once again. We're going to be placing one on each upper trapezius. So that's going to be right here. So it's not on the neck, it's not on the back of the shoulder. Again, nothing wrong with those places. It's just not where we're going right now. You will be laying down on those balls. I like to have a block handy just in case I need more. So you could lay the balls down and then lay on them, or you could lay down and then scooch them underneath you. It's really up to you. Make sure you don't cut your hair. That's a big one. So once you get them underneath you, before you add a block, start to notice if you need it. So you're going to start to move your arms around. So I typically need a block to get what I want. It actually feels better on my neck to have my hips elevated. So I'm sliding a block underneath my tailbone. And then again, we're starting to move the arms. So you could do like a snow angel. You could do it with both arms, or yeah, maybe one arm, and then you could alternate. You could do like some circles, almost like you're swimming. And again, that could be just one arm and then the other arm. You could do some internal and external rotation, just lying my elbows on the floor. And then I'm getting some movement into the shoulders, internal, external rotation. You could give yourself a big hug, cross your arms, and then reach out. And then you could do that again. And reach out. Oops. So the trapezius, which is where you have the balls now, the tissue in and around your traps, trapezius, will also affect your ability to breathe deeply. So if there's tension in this area, you won't be able to take a deep breath, number one. But number two, you can actually create tension in this area, cause tension in this area if your breath is shortened. It will cause stress, tension in the neck and shoulders. So it can go either way. You can create issues by having tension there. You can actually create tension there by having a limited breath. You could also not move the arms, but move the body. If you're going to move the body, I don't usually leave the block. Maybe even support your head and just move back and forth. Now, of course, I keep suggesting movements, but you could also just simply lay in a position and breathe and let gravity just do the work for you. You could lift your hips and move. That's pretty intense, so be careful. You could go up and down a little bit. Again, very intense, so be careful. And as I mentioned, maybe it just makes sense for you to just let gravity do the work for you. And you hold still. All wonderful options. So you have 5 more big breaths here. And after your 5th breath, find your way back to your wall. We're going to finish exactly as we started. Legs up the wall. So maybe you're able to be a little closer to the wall this time. And again, I like a block. Maybe you will too. So once you get yourself all arranged here, I recommend closing your eyes, taking a big, big, big breath in. Hold the breath this time. And then open your mouth and let it all go. Let your body simply melt into the earth. Let yourself to be fully supported in every way. This will be your Shavasana, your final rest. So I do highly recommend you take your time here. If you can stay for at least 5 minutes, I definitely recommend that. Thank you for joining me. Namaste, my friends.